I spent months getting ready for my baby girl, Aurora. Every tiny sock, every blanket, folded with care, every lullaby rehearsed in a quiet room that, after years of struggling with infertility and 2 heartbreaking miscarriages, was finally filled with hope. I truly believed the universe was finally being kind to me. And when Aurora was born, she was perfect. She had my dimples, her father's bright eyes, and a laugh that sounded like wind chimes in spring. She brought light back into my life, and for a brief moment, I felt whole again. But fate, as cruel as it can be, had other plans. Aurora was only 6 months old when she got seriously ill. It started as a fever, something doctors initially brushed off, but it escalated quickly. Within days, she was in the ICU, machines beeping, nurses rushing, prayers whispered in the waiting room. I stayed by her side every second, singing to her, reading stories, holding her little hand as if I could anchor her to this world with my love. But on the 7th day, just as the morning sun broke through the hospital blinds, her tiny heart stopped. She was gone. The pain was indescribable. I didn't eat, didn't sleep. My world collapsed. I expected my family to rally around me. I needed them more than ever. My brother, Jordan, called once, just once. My parents, who had promised to fly in to support me, canceled at the last minute. The reason? Jordan had decided to throw a last-minute pool party at his new mansion to celebrate his promotion. And my parents, eager to bask in the glory of their golden child, chose to attend that instead of my daughter's funeral. Yes, they skipped Aurora's funeral for a pool party. I sat alone at the small service, just me, my husband, and a few close friends. No words from my parents, no flowers, no call, nothing. As if Aurora never existed. As if my pain wasn't convenient enough to schedule around. I stood there, clutching my baby's urn, staring at the empty row of seats I had reserved for my family. My tears weren't just for Aurora anymore. They were for the part of me that finally realized I meant nothing to them, not compared to Jordan. My parents sent a text 2 days later saying, "We thought it would be too painful to see you in that state. Hope you understand. Jordan's pool party was already planned. We'll come visit next month when things settle." Next month. I didn't reply. I didn't scream. I didn't beg them to see what they'd done. I simply sat down at my desk that night and started writing. Not a message, not a letter, but a plan. Quiet, precise, cold. Because if they could choose their comfort over my child's farewell, then I could choose my peace over their presence. And I had something they didn't know. I wasn't just grieving. I was also growing. I was also very quietly becoming powerful. After Aurora's funeral, I withdrew from everyone, including my husband, for a while. But I didn't disappear. One rebuilt myself in silence. I dove headfirst into something I had put on hold for years, the nonprofit I had always dreamed of launching in memory of my grandmother, a pediatric nurse. I named it Aurora's Light, a foundation offering free grief counseling and emergency care support to single mothers and families who had lost children. And I didn't stop there. I started small, with virtual counseling sessions and fundraising dinners. But within months, Aurora's Light was being shared by influencers, pediatricians, grief therapists, and hospitals. Grieving mothers found community in our safe space. Donations poured in. I was interviewed by 2 local news stations. A month after that, a national morning show reached out. I went on air, trembling but proud, and told the story of Aurora, not the tragedy, but the spark she left behind. What my parents didn't know was that during those silent months, I'd also inherited something else, something they had long forgotten. My great-aunt Lillian had passed away quietly 2 years ago. She had no children of her own, and we were close, closer than I ever let on. She left me her entire estate, a massive trust, properties, stocks. I hadn't touched a cent of it until the day I saw a tagged Instagram photo of my parents, lounging poolside at Jordan's mansion, holding glasses of champagne. The caption, "Celebrating family, only the best ones, of course." That was the moment. I snapped. I used part of the inheritance to hire a private investigator, not to dig dirt, but to research property specifically. The private resort frequently rented for family gatherings, the same one where my parents were photographed. Last year for Christmas, a celebration I hadn't been invited to, I bought it quietly, through a shell company. Then, I waited. 4 months later, Jordan sent out family invites to his biggest bash yet, a luxury summer weekend at that same resort, promising a poolside brunch, live music, and no emotional drama this time, as he snidely wrote in the email thread. My parents, RSVP'd with a dozen heart emojis. I RSVP'd too, but not to attend, just to watch. On the day of the party, I checked into the main villa unannounced. I brought a small team with me, my nonprofit staff and a video crew that had been documenting Aurora's light. They had no idea where we were going until we arrived. I told the manager I was the new owner. He blinked, then nodded. My name was on everything. I had bought it all: the villas, the gardens, the private chef's contract, even the security firm. When Jordan and my parents arrived the next morning, dressed in designer swimsuits and fake smiles, they were stopped at the gate. Sorry, the guard said. Private event. This property has been booked exclusively, but I'm Jordan Sterling. My brother snapped. My family comes here every year. Check your list. The guard clicked his tablet. Yes, I see your name. You were removed from the guest list last night. Removed by who? My mother demanded. That's when I stepped outside, in a white dress, calm, silent. Behind me, my staff carried boxers labeled Aurora's Light. The video crew began filming, catching the stunned expressions on their faces. I removed you, I said, looking them in the eye. You weren't invited to Aurora's funeral, so I thought it was fair. My mother blinked. You bought this place. No, I replied. I own this place. They tried to argue. Of course, my father yelled. Jordan laughed bitterly, but the guards escorted them off the property gently. As I watched in silence as they left, I handed each of them a card. It read, "This weekend was meant to be family only. You made it clear I don't belong in yours, so I made one of my own." That night I held a candlelight event on the resort lawn. Dozens of mothers and fathers who had lost their children gathered under the stars. We shared stories, we cried, we healed, and I realized I had never truly lost Aurora. She was everywhere, in the stars, in the kindness, in every quiet act of courage I had taken to rebuild my life without the people who failed me. I didn't need their apology. I had built something stronger than their approval. In the weeks after the pool party incident, the fallout was exactly what I expected, and more brutal than even I had planned. My brother Jordan tried to save face, online, posting cryptic messages about betrayal and people forgetting who helped them rise, but screenshots of his tacky poolside captions were already circulating side by side with videos of my emotional Aurora's Light event. Public sympathy shifted. Sponsors backed out of Jordan's business events. His brand took a hit. And when he tried to throw another party at a different venue the following month, he was told they were fully booked. As for my parents, their phones went silent for once. They had nothing to say. No apology, no outrage, just stunned silence. I thought that would be the end of it, and honestly, I was fine with that. Until one rainy afternoon, I got a letter in the mail. It wasn't handwritten, it wasn't emotional. It was a formal, typed document from my parents' lawyer. They were asking for a meeting, not to apologize, not to reconnect, but to ask for help, financial help. They were in debt, badly. Apparently, after years of lavish vacations, constant spending on Jordan's business, and multiple on their home, they were facing foreclosure. And the biggest twist, the house they were about to lose was in my name. You see, years ago, when I was 21, my father had put the deed under my name to avoid a tax issue. He never told me until I dug through legal files during my nonprofit's expansion. That detail had long slipped his mind. So, I had a choice. I could sell the house, or save it, or take it back. I didn't do any of those things right away. Instead, I asked them to meet me face to face. They arrived at my office looking pale, humiliated, and years older than I remembered. My mother wore sunglasses indoors. My father stared at the floor. Jordan wasn't with them. He had apparently distanced himself to focus on rebranding. I didn't offer them water. I didn't smile. I slid a single sheet of paper across the table. "What's this?" my mom whispered. "A letter," I replied. It said, "I forgive you, but I no longer owe you anything." And at the bottom was a transfer of property rights. They looked up in confusion. "You're giving the house back?" my father asked. I shook my head. "No. I'm donating it to who?" "To Aurora's Light," I said simply. "It's going to become a grief retreat for parents who've lost children and have nowhere to go. It'll be a space of peace, healing, safety, not shame." My mother gasped. "You can't do that. That's our home." "No," I said softly. It never was. You made sure of that the day you chose a party over your granddaughter's funeral. They broke down, finally, tears, real ones. But I didn't get up. I didn't comfort them. I let the silence sit. I let them feel what I had felt that day. Emptiness, loneliness, rejection. Except, unlike them, I left the door open. "You're welcome to attend the ribbon-cutting ceremony," I said as they stood to leave, as guests. "But don't bring champagne. Just kindness." That night, I sat on the porch of the old house. My daughter's favorite lullaby hummed in the wind. I lit a small candle for Aurora. It flickered once, twice, then glowed steady. The house was no longer haunted by betrayal. It was reborn in purpose. And so was I, asterisk.